this baby came out of my hoo-ha. Girl, there's only one exit. How are you lost? I don't know if I was there the whole time, girl. Ugh, oh my god. Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Today's video is a highly requested one, and one that I've been sitting on for a little while actually. I gave birth 7 weeks ago. It's actually crazy how fast time is going, and today I'm here to talk all about that experience because girl, it was an experience. First of all, let's start by saying that this baby broke my vagina. Okay, we're gonna keep it real in this video. Now, when it came to my birth, I feel like I trained for it. I have been training my entire pregnancy, as you guys know. I started working out about 9 months before I got pregnant and worked out during my pregnancy leading up to labor. And I feel like all of that really helped me, first of all, give birth, but empowered me and made me feel like I could do this. Because the entire time I was like, Jen, can you do this? Can you do this? And the reason why I was psyching myself up so much is because I wanted a vaginal unmedicated birth, which is exactly what happened. I also want to say in part, I manifested it. I wanted it. I trained for it. And I knew all the lingo, everything leading up to that point. Because girl, if you're just showing up to the hospital the day of, it's like showing up for the biggest marathon of your life and you didn't train. You're just gonna show up and be like, what do I do? If no one tells you, I am here to tell you to train and prepare yourself for labor, for birth, because it's an out-of-body experience. I don't even know how else to describe it. They had to tell me about my birth. And I'm gonna tell you the story the best way that I remember. But I don't know if I was there the whole time, girl. But they did give me this paper to have a breakdown of what happened. I feel like it's gonna keep me on track, okay? So about 7 weeks ago, I woke up in labor and I was actually so excited. If you guys watch my channel, you know that during my 3rd trimester, the baby was starting small, so they were pressuring me to induce, especially after I reached 37 weeks. There was a lot of pressure and I made the decision not to induce. But once I got to 40 weeks and baby still wasn't here, they were like, okay, Jen, what are we waiting for? My entire philosophy around this pregnancy and the birth is that I wanted things to be as natural as possible. I wanted to trust my body because prior to getting pregnant, I had done a lot of work to heal myself, to heal my body, first of all, to get pregnant. But once that happened, it gave me confidence basically to trust myself, to trust my body. And I just knew that my body was going to do what it needed to do when it needed to do it, okay? So I didn't want to induce. But after 40 weeks and 3 days, which was my last appointment with the midwife, the conversation was, when are you going to schedule your induction? And I was like, you know what, how about we do it next week? I'm gonna call you with a date. I didn't even want to pick a date. But that afternoon, I went to the park with my husband and literally, girl, I was playing basketball. I was jumping around. I was curb walking. I was doing push-ups. I was doing all the things. Towards the end of the pregnancy, I did every single thing. And I'm not gonna say they worked because I got to 40 weeks and 4 days and I could have gone into labor at any point. But when I woke up with contractions, I was like, thank you, Lord. I was the happiest pregnant person going into labor. So from 7 a.m. to about 1 p.m., we were timing the contractions and they were here and there. They weren't too bad. It really felt like period pains, but I was getting them like really low. It felt like I was hurting where my cervix is. I don't know if that was it, but that's really where I felt like that tightness every time I would contract. And my belly would get super, super hard. So I basically stayed home, baby made breakfast. Everything was already done, ready to go. Hospital bag was packed, which is very unusual for me to do things ahead of time, but I was ready. So 1 p.m. contractions were getting a little bit more frequent, about 5 minutes apart. So B calls the midwife and he tells her, and she was so excited because she was waiting for me to go into labor. She wanted to induce since I was 37 weeks. So she was like, let's do this. I will meet you at the hospital. Come on down. So in the back of our head, we're like, okay, we're going to go to the hospital, but we don't want to get sent back home. So we're praying that they keep us. Side note, in terms of going to the hospital, that's not exactly what we wanted, what I wanted in terms of giving birth. If you recall from probably my first pregnancy update video, I wanted an out-of-hospital birth. I don't like hospitals like that. They make me feel very icky. I don't trust the medical team like that. And I visited a birth center and it was just so beautiful, so comfortable, so serene. That's where I wanted to give birth. But because the baby was starting small, they didn't want to take the chance because they really thought that something was wrong. So hospital it was. So we get to the hospital at around 2:30. Actually, I think it's on the paper. We got to the hospital at 2:53. She checked me and I was 3 centimeters dilated, just about. But she said that she was going to keep us, which I was very happy about. And the reason being, she said that my cervix was very soft and it felt like she could stretch it to about 4 centimeters. So she said that she was going to keep us. And I was like, hallelujah, let's have this baby. According to this, at about 3:30, active labor started. So I was basically just laboring at the hospital. Now, the hospital suite was pretty nice. She said she got us one of the nice rooms because she knew my fear and my concern around giving birth in the hospital. So it was really big. It was very comfortable. I think Bay took a picture or video or something. Bay have like little videos here and there that I will pop on the screen because I was focused. I was just like, I've been training for this. This is my marathon. Don't bother me. Don't talk to me. I know what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to focus on my breathing, relax my body, allow my uterus to do its thing. So I was like prepared. And the cutest thing that Bay actually did is he made me a hospital playlist, which is like the cutest thing. So it was like a nice serene R&B type vibe. We basically turned the room into a spa. Another thing that we did is get a doula. I went back and forth about getting a doula. It's a lot of money. It's a lot of money that I didn't want to spend. The months leading up to the birth, especially with how concerned they were with the baby being small, I was like, okay, maybe it will empower me to even have someone else on my team, like a doula on my team, that's going to help me. And the reason why I wanted the doula is because I wanted someone to coach me in the moment. Labor is a big deal, okay? Like, I don't understand people that just show up to the hospital like, hey, I'm ready to have a baby, without doing any type of research or, understanding what's going to happen to their bodies. I don't get it. But with her being there, at least in my mind, I imagined that she was going to coach me as to what to do in the moment, especially with positioning, because there's a lot of different positions that you should be in when you're giving birth, or at least that you want to keep moving. You don't want to stay on your back on the bed, because I can't imagine. So I ended up having the doula. She was very helpful in terms of just keeping me comfortable, getting me water, getting me apple juice, changing positions, because those would have been Bay's job, but Bay's not a professional birthing person. It's his first baby too. So it actually ended up being very nice to have someone to first of all tell B what to do, but also tell me what to do. So it was really nice having the doula there. All right, so we're going through labor, we're in different positions, and ironically enough, one of the positions that I really love was being on the toilet. It's so weird. So for like a good portion of my labor, I was on the toilet, facing the opposite direction, leaning onto the backboard of the toilet and just laboring that way. And I found it so relaxing just because I really felt that I could relax the pelvic floor, relax down there. Because, when you think of the toilet, you associate it with relaxing. Either you're peeing or number 2. Both of these actions involve you relaxing your pelvic floor, which is what you need to do during labor. Relax, girl. Let your body do what it's supposed to do. Let your body do what it's meant to do. Don't clench up, because now you're fighting your body. You're fighting the natural process of what giving birth is. There was also a bathtub there. So I got into the bathtub and labored there. I didn't stay in the tub for too long because I ended up feeling this pain in my back. And I was just like, what is that? It was just so weird because in between contractions, basically, you feel fine. So you get a contraction, it'll last a minute or so, and then you get a little break, and then the next contraction comes. That was basically the rhythm throughout the entire time. But then once I started getting this pain on my side, which now I know why, basically it was back labor, it didn't give me a break. So I would get a contraction and this pain was just constant. What happened was baby girl decided to do a full 360 inside of me. 360? Yeah. 360 inside of me before coming down. And it's ironic because she was already heads down. She was in the right position. She was just slightly to the right. So imagine her being like this. Instead of going like that and then going down, she went this way and then went down. It's like there's only one exit, girl. What are you doing? How are you lost? As she was doing her 360, that's when I started feeling this back labor, which was taking me out. It's funny because like the actual contraction was fine. They were painful, of course, but I was mentally prepared for that. I wasn't mentally prepared for this constant pain on my back. So when I was in the tub, I was feeling it really hard. So I was like, I can't stay in the tub. So I got out. I was on the toilet. I was on the ball. I was just moving around. So around, I think 8 o'clock, the midwife was like, okay, I feel like things are stalling. Like the contraction weren't as intense as they were before. She checked me and I think I was 7 centimeters at that point. but she also felt like there was a lip on my cervix that was preventing the baby from coming down. So my cervix was dilated, but there was like a little part that was still there that was basically in the way. So what she ended up doing is push it out of the way as I was contracting. So the next contraction that I had, she had her finger in there, girl, and then push it out of the way, and then baby came down. Still, labor was stalling. It wasn't going as intense as it was going. So she was like, okay, it's probably time to break your water. And again, you know, I don't want people getting in the way. I don't want people doing different things. I didn't want any kind of intervention. B and I talked about it. I was like, okay, I do feel that it's stalling. So she went and broke my water. Girl, the second that water was broken, it was gas pedal to the finish line. I don't even think I was ready. This is the part that I feel like Bae was telling me about. So when it was broken, I was in the bed, and immediately I got a contraction. I was on my back, and I was like, oh no. Like, I had the contraction, but being on your back, ooh, I feel like it's the worst position that you can be in. So once that happened, I was like, I need to move. So I moved to my side, and they used the peanut ball to like keep my leg up or whatever. So from that point on, it was just contraction after contraction. I'm almost out of light, so I need to hurry up and finish. Are you changing? Ew. It says here that they broke my water at 8:13. My dilation was fully complete by 9:05. I started pushing at 9:05. Delivery at 9:31. And the placenta was delivered at 9:42. So, girl, once they broke my water, things went by so fast. Bae had to tell me about my labor. It was back to back to back contractions. And the worst is I wasn't getting a break because of my back labor. So that was happening. Contractions were happening. And I was just holding on. I remember holding on to the railing of the bed and just like closing my eyes. And that's basically all I remember. Even Bae was making fun of me afterwards. He said I sounded like a Haitian woman at a funeral. That's how I was just screaming, yelling, and holding on to the railing of that bed. The noises that were coming out of me, even I didn't recognize myself. Girl, Early labor happened, easy peasy. Active labor was okay. Once I got to that transition part, that's when the baby is crowning. I felt so much pressure down there that I was like, oh my God, I feel like I'm gonna tear. That I was saying that out loud, and the midwife was like, it's gonna be okay, girl. Keep going, you're doing great. And it just felt so like, oh my God, they call it the ring of fire. And there's a reason why they call it the ring of fire, because I don't know how to explain it. It's fiery. It's hot. Once the baby crowned, even Bae was like, oh my God, I can see her head. Keep going. And I was just there with my eyes closed, holding on to the railing of the hospital bed like this for my dear life. I was just like, that's it. That's the only position I stayed in when it came to pushing. And pushing, actually, I was also prepared for. And I just felt like my body was pushing by itself. Like I just kind of gave it power, but the act of pushing, I felt like it was just happening by itself. It was very interesting. I keep saying it's like an out-of-body experience because it's almost like I was watching my body perform this act that it's never done. This powerful act of giving birth. So with pushing, I had prep for that. I had trained for that. The class that I took before had a whole section about how to push and how to use your ab muscle to push. So when it came to pushing, I felt like it was very short for me. It was about 20 minutes, I think. Let me check. 24 minutes. And I think it's because I would power. I think it's because I was powering my body with my abs. I was pushing with my abs like they told me to do. And then once her head was out, actually this is Bae telling me this story because I wasn't even there. Once her head was out, her heart rate dropped like a lot. And the midwife was like a little concerned about it. And Bae was looking at the midwife like, what do we do? Because the machine, I guess, showed that the heart rate was very low. And so instead of waiting for the next contraction, the midwife was like, well, you can go ahead and push the baby out. So I used my abs and pushed, and there she was. She came right out at a healthy 6 pounds, 5 ounces. Oh my God, just talking about it makes me feel all emotional. And it's very interesting. I've seen these pictures on Instagram with women. You know that moment when they put the baby on them and they're in tears, they're crying. And in the back of my head, I'm always like, oh my God, such babies. And you know who was a baby? Me. That moment when the baby comes out and they put them on your chest, I can't explain it. I was so overwhelmed with emotions. I was crying like a baby. I was crying more than the baby, just holding her on my chest after this whole marathon that I just ran to get her in this world. And it's just, the woman body is so powerful. I really felt like I was opening a portal that connected the two worlds, you know, like bringing a soul into this side of the world. That's what I felt like. And I'm just so happy that I did the work. I trained myself. I knew all the lingo. When they were talking about your 3 centimeters, your 7 centimeters, I knew what that meant. I knew what part of labor that put me. I knew what I had left. You know, by the time you get to 7 centimeters, you just need to get to 10. And then it's time to get things started. So I'm just so happy that I was knowledgeable about what was going with my body and what I needed to do. Because otherwise, I think showing up and not knowing what's happening, you're doing yourself a great disservice. And I also think that's how a lot of women, especially Black women, go through the system and they treat us like whatever. Oh, you're not even in pain. You're fine. Get an epidural. Get a C-section. Not that I'm saying there's anything wrong with these things. If there's a medical reason why you need a C-section, I think that's valid. But I also think that they kind of push it on a lot of women. And we're making these uneducated decisions just because the doctor's telling us. For example, you know, I was pressured into inducing and I did my own research and I was like, no. I'm not inducing, and I'm very glad everything turned out okay, but at the same time, inducing is not bad because there's a reality of people that need an induction. Anyways, all I'm trying to say is do your research. Your body knows what to do. The main thing that you have to do is to surrender. Surrender yourself and allow your body to do what it's supposed to do. Postpartum, I think, is the part that I wasn't mentally prepared for. I didn't realize how difficult postpartum is. Not just mentally, but also physically. Because after giving birth, you know, a lot's going on. Now, I did tear. I had let me see. I had 2nd-degree tearing. Did you know that you could tear towards the front, so towards your labia? I had one tiny tear, she says. Oh my God, I'm putting all my business out there. I had one tiny tear in my labia, and I will never forget the feeling of that thread going through. I will never forget it. So your labia has a lot of nerve endings, so it's practically impossible to numb it, although they can numb all the other parts. Like if you're tearing towards the back, it's fine. They will numb it and then stitch you up. But towards your labia, there is too many nerve endings there, so they can't really numb you. So every single stitch that you get up there, you are going to feel. And I had one, and I can tell you I will never forget it. And you know what? I don't understand. I don't think I will ever forget labor to begin with. All of these women that are like, oh, you forget it. You don't remember. Why y'all out here lying to the people? Huh? Why are you doing that? Is it because you want grandkids? Because it's so funny. I was talking to my mother-in-law. She was like, oh, yeah, I remember that. I remember that. Oh, now you remember. But before that, you couldn't remember? Y'all be lying to people. You remember just well how difficult labor is. What else happened to me? I think that's it. So everything went well. I don't think I would have had a non-medicated birth if I wasn't mentally prepared for it, because each step of the way, I just knew what to expect. As intense as the pain was getting, I just kept trusting myself. I kept telling myself, you can do this, Jen. You can do this, Jen. Especially towards the end, when you get to like, I don't know, 7 centimeters plus, the transition stage, 10 centimeters, ooh. Okay. You just hold on for your dear life. You hold on for the ride. And I'm grateful that part actually happened fairly quickly. So my labor in general lasted about 14 hours. So I was in labor around 7:30 in the morning. Baby was delivered at 9:30 at night. The midwife actually said that it would have gone a lot faster, maybe 4 or 5 hours. 4 or 5 hours, you know? If baby girl didn't decide to do a whole 360 inside of me. If she just went straight down, I would have had a baby in a heartbeat, she said. So be careful for the next baby. Although, it's too early to talk about next baby girl because it's a lot going on. This is my birth story. I will include some footage if I can find any. I didn't take any on my phone. I hope Babe took some. He even took some pictures of the actual delivery, but they're too graphic. I can't even look at them. Birth is so raw. It's so animalistic. When I was making these noises that I was just like, is that me? Did I just grunt that way? When I was making these noises, I really just felt like an animal. Like, out of body experience. Okay, it's not cute. It's not clean. It definitely is like an animalistic thing. And we think about it, we are animals, you know? Anyways. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. and I will see you in my next one. Bye. It's crazy to me that I'm a mom. Some days, I sit and I think about it, I'm like, wow, women are just so powerful. We really don't we don't step into our greatness, as women. Wow, I gave birth to a whole human being. This baby came out of my hoo-ha. Okay, that is all. Bye.